Hey guys, Danielle McCarthy here from Mind Potential Psychology, and today we have Maddie Stoddart on the line with us, who is another psychologist at Mind Potential Psychology. Hey Maddie, how you going?
Good.
Good. And Maddie is on the line today because she has a big special interest in working with people with anxiety. And so she's on the line today to talk to us in particular about phobias. So thanks for joining us, Maddie. And I think this is a really good topic because I think a lot of people don't actually know what a phobia is and what is and isn't classified as a phobia. So this will be really interesting. So can you start, Maddie, today by telling us what actually is a phobia?
Sure. So a phobia is an intense fear of a situation, an object, or a thing that a person will go out of their way to avoid. So for example, if someone has a phobia of spiders, they're not just afraid of them, they are going out of their way to avoid it to the point where it's interfering in their life. And usually that person will recognize that their fear is irrational or it's a bit bigger than it needs to be, but they still engage in those avoidance behaviors.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay, that's a really nice summary. And that kind of has answered my next question, but I might ask it anyway just so you can really clearly answer it. How might somebody know that they are experiencing a phobia? Like, okay, this is a phobia. This isn't generalized anxiety. This isn't social anxiety. This is a phobia. How might somebody know?
Sure. So a phobia is very specific to a situation or an object or a thing. So if you have generalized anxiety, you would be worrying about a whole range of things all day long, like did I turn the oven off, sort of thing. If you have a phobia, it's specific. So I'm afraid of spiders and heights and needles. The most important thing is that person, their life is actually being impacted by that fear. So they are accommodating it in a way that they're avoiding anything to do with it. So if you're afraid of heights, you might never go above the third story in a building. Whereas if you were just afraid of them rather than a phobia, you would still do it, but you wouldn't enjoy it necessarily.
Yeah, you might be a bit anxious about it, but a phobia is like, nah, there is no way in hell I'm going in the elevator past that point.
That's right. So it impacts in their life in a way. For example, if someone has a phobia of heights, then they wouldn't book a hotel anywhere above the third story, or they wouldn't go in an elevator. So obviously their holiday is going to be impacted. It's quite limiting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome. And, anxiety is one of those things that is very common, and a lot of us have different anxieties and maybe even kind of like phobias. Like, for example, I really don't like spiders. I'm not going to go hold one. How does somebody know when it's actually a problem and maybe something that they need to seek support for versus something that, okay, yep, they've got an anxiety, but they probably don't need to seek support for it. Like, I've never sought support for my dislike of spiders. How do we know?
Yeah. Okay. So I guess it's the level of intensity of that fear. So just like anything, phobias and fears are on a spectrum from mild to severe. So if you have a mild phobia, that might be manageable. That might be okay. Maybe you just don't go hiking in the forest if you're afraid of spiders. But for example, let's go back with the heights example. If you have a phobia of heights, you would avoid everything to do with heights. It would be very obvious to others around you. You would accommodate, plan. You might go, okay, I'm going to go on a holiday, but I'm not going to book an apartment above the third floor. I need a building that only has stairs. I can't go anywhere where there's windows, etc. If you just had a fear, you would go, I don't like it, but I'll do it. And so I guess that intensity of it and how much it's actually impacting your life. So are you planning your life around that fear?
Yeah, exactly. So my fear of spiders doesn't really impact my life. Like, I don't, on a day-to-day basis, it's not causing me concern. But somebody with an intense fear or phobia, it might be impacting like their day-to-day life or, their life or functioning or relationships in some way. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. And socially, with work, you basically you would know because you're missing out on a lot of things. Because of that phobia that you maybe would like to do or could do normally, but you can't because it's limiting you. So usually it says when it's to the point where that person is being impacted, then it's a phobia.
Okay. got you, and worth seeking support for.
Right, yeah.
Okay, great. And so say somebody's identified that they've got a phobia, whether it's spiders, heights, or whatever. What are 3 potential negatives that might occur if they don't take action or they don't seek support?
Okay, so I guess the first thing is that, like I said, it's on a spectrum of, mild to quite severe. So the thing is if you continue to avoid that thing that you're fearful of, the negative would be that it could get worse. It could go from a mild phobia to a severe phobia. It could also, the fact that you are missing out on things. So you're not ever seeing a beautiful view because you're afraid of heights. You only see it in photographs. And the other thing is often relationships are affected because of phobias. So like any other sort of anxiety, loved ones might not understand where you're coming from when you're so afraid of what's going on or the situation, because to them it's irrational. And you just kind of feel trapped in that situation. So a negative would be that your relationships are affected, or you're missing out, or that your phobia could get worse.
Okay. Yeah, got you. No, that's a nice summary, thanks. And on the flip side, if somebody has got a phobia and they do get some support for it, and are able to improve their phobia, what are 3 positives that we might see?
Right. Well, I guess, in the reverse, you'd be able to experience things that you haven't been able to before. So, seeing that beautiful view, or just not living in fear of a spider being on the pathway or in a web, or, being able to do things that you couldn't do before, being able to take back control of your life. People with phobias often describe it as sort of feeling out of control or being trapped by that fear. And so actually being able to overcome it and be in control of your life, and just not having to accommodate it anymore. So just going out and not having to plan as to whether there's going to be a spider or a 3rd-story building that you have to go into. So just being able to actually live your life.
Yeah. Awesome. And so phobias are obviously quite treatable, right? It's something you see frequently in your practice. What's a tip or something that somebody might do to be able to start improving their phobia?
So I think the biggest thing would be getting out of your comfort zone. So the phobia, what it does is it holds you in sort of a bit of a trap. I guess it tells you that you can't do the things that you want to do because of a bad consequence. You're going to get hurt by that spider, or whatever the fear is that you have. So I would say, a tip would be to start out really small, just pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. As we said, the phobia is generally irrational or sort of out of proportion to the actual danger. So usually you'd be quite safe in the situation, depending on what it is. But, just be careful, but push yourself a little bit, getting out of that comfort zone. And the other thing is, I would say, seek treatment, because that psychologist will walk you through what you need to do and sort of the small steps of bringing your anxiety down in the situation so that you can overcome it. Yeah, so that might be something like relaxed breathing, deep belly breathing, grounding where you're sort of distracting your mind, moving your thoughts away, that kind of thing. So they'll give you some strategies to work with that. But yeah, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone in small ways to start would be the biggest thing, I think.
Yeah, and I guess in a guided, safe environment, your psychologist would be able to walk you through that, because I guess somebody with such an intense phobia around something specifically, I guess even small steps might feel overwhelming and really difficult.
That's right. Yeah.
To contemplate. So I guess you can do it in a safe environment with a psychologist who can walk you through that and give you strategies to be able to get you from step to step.
Yeah, that's right. Because I guess the fear keeps you from doing that. It stops you from actually stepping outside of your comfort zone. And so to be able to kind of do that first step and do that, get the ball rolling, getting help would be a really great help. So yeah,
a great first step.
Yes, great first step. That's right.
Awesome. Well, that was really, really, really useful. Thanks so much, Maddie, for that tip and also that information around phobia. I hope that people watching found that really useful. And if anybody does have any more questions, would they be able to? Could I forward any questions on to you, Maddie? Would that be all right?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
So anybody who does have any questions, feel free to PM us or private message us. We respond really fast, and I'll forward any questions on to Maddie, because that is really an area she feels very strongly and passionate about. So I know she'd love to answer any questions. But otherwise, thanks so much for your time today, Maddie. And
No
anybody,
worries.
if you know of anybody who think who you feel might benefit from this, feel free to share it or like it on your Facebook page, and we'll talk to you all soon. Bye for now.
Bye.